look closely at the detail, because from this one sequence, you actually have several options. From the initial attack, boom, that is also what's called a buji and jikundo, or an eye strike. Then going from that into that side neck strike. If the distance is not so good for the outside, then those two kicks are to the inside. So if you look closely, there's a pressure point on the inside of the tibia, right about there. It's a big deal in Hapkido. So that would be my initial kick. Then the secondary one, this time instead of the ACL, we go for the MCL. Boom. Now my elbow is actually lifting up his chin. Come around, and I kick shot him. Aloha everyone. We're going to look at the functional application for the opening sequence of the Taekwondo Poomse Koryo. So the opening sequence, which Kyosen John and Salomon Sheila are going to demonstrate, begins this way. So from Chumbi, they start the sequence, their hands are going to elevate up to center and come forward. Then there's the wind-up portion coming to the outside, followed by two side kicks, low and high, with the right leg. When they go to the left, go ahead. And then from there, an outward knife strike, a left hand punch, and a right hand inward block with the hips torquing backward. Okay, so let's back that up and take a look at how this sequence could work as a functional self-defense technique. So, one of the most common assaults against men is a two-handed shove. And one of the most common assaults against women is to either be grabbed or choked. In either case, the opening sequence of Koryo is quite useful. As John comes to attack me, boom, I'm going to interrupt his attack. Then I can go to either side. The form repeats itself left and right. I'm going to go toward you so it's easier to see. So that next sequence would be the wind up with the knife hand strike. So I'm going to wind up, knife hand strike into the brachioradialis, vagus nerve sheath of the neck. The next is the two kicks. For functional self-defense, instead of doing those high, we're going to change the angle and do them low. So I can go to the tarsus of the ankle, and then to the ACL of the knee, and that portion can actually be a throw. Okay? That's one possibility. A secondary possibility is from the opening sequence and the strike. He does not fall from these, which then requires me to continue the attack. So I'm going to strike and hit, and then come in here and hit again. And this second hit is going into the mastoid process of the jaw. In the form, the very next thing you do is turn. So we're going to still turn 180 degrees. We're just going to bring his head with us. At that turn, what would your next movement be? It would be the two kicks. Now we have an opponent on the ground, and now those kicks make more sense as we continue the sequence. So these are ways in which you can functionalize the form. So instead of just looking at the aesthetic, you're actually looking at functional movement to develop your self-defense curriculum based on the motor skills and kinesiology and formed patterns and kinesthetic sense that you've already developed in your Taekwondo training. So in the case of Salomon Sheila, where Taekwondo is her primary martial art, it also is for my student and friend, Kwanjingnim Mark Prater, who was kind enough to send us these t-shirts from Enterprise Martial Arts in Hollister, California. Show them again, John. In Hollister, California, of the Cobra Kai. Why do I like that name? Anyway, shout out to Mark. Thank you, mahalo nui aloha, for the shirts. Kamsahamnida. Just wanted to share a little bit of the applications of Koryo. So one more time, let's take a look at that. The very opening sequence. Let's say he tries to choke me instead. Boom, no problem. I'm going to go to the outside of that grip, strike, right? From the strike, I have the ankle and knee shot, okay? Following that, I have the punch. Following the punch, we have that what looks like an inward block with the hip turn. I'm going to keep his head married to my shoulder, strike that master weight process. Then what we have naturally is the turn. Bang, bang, and come out. If you look closely, from this one sequence, with some research, development, insight, and creativity, you can actually develop several practical options. So for example, in the initial bridge, when he comes to attack me, that's actually what's in Jukundo called a Buji. It's in Buji and Jukundo and in Wing Chun. Then we have the strike. If I feel too compressed, I'm too close to him to go to the outside of his right leg, I'll go to the inside of his left. On the inside of the tibia here is a vulnerable pressure point, and that is what we're going to strike. So the first kick will go to the inside of the tibia. The second one, instead of to the ACL, I can strike the MCL. At this point, I'm practically holding him up with my forearm. We come along, shoot this way, and then now I'm going to actually do a kick to lock him up here. I'm landing on his rib cage at the mid-axillary. Also, his arm is hyperextended in a lock. All I have to do is posture up, and that becomes an arm break. And drop on his head with my knee, come out, strike into the head. So there's a lot of detailed options. Crawl, walk, run. Whether you're doing this for civilian self-defense, law enforcement defensive tactics, or military combatives. So lots of options now. It doesn't have to be just this reach. He could actually be choking me. And now, instead of just rising up, I change the angle and strike forward, right? And now, instead of trying to kick from a distance, I'll clear under the arm and kick from behind. Another option, he comes up behind me on this initial shove. Grabbing my neck, I'm here, right? And now when we're doing that wind up, instead of just winding up, we're taking that hand deep, okay? Now, instead of just doing a kick somewhere else, I kick straight in front of him, okay? This comes around this way, look, bang. There are tons of options. What you want to look at is the biomechanical skill set and the kinesthetics that you're using in the form, and then look at the library, the litany of solid choices you have in terms of technique to then apply to the movement that's already in the form. So, applications of Koryo. It's always said in any martial art that you should envision your attack as you go through the sequence of movements. If you actually train applications for that, it makes it much more realistic, makes your training much more functional, and definitely much more practical. This is a common thing in Kempo and Kaiju Kempo, where you'll actually practice a lot of those different kinds of combinations, but it's not so common in Taekwondo. It is, however, the essence of Hapkido, all self-defense techniques. And many Taekwondo schools do both Hapkido and Taekwondo. This is a way to take Taekwondo, if that's your core martial art, and add some practical self-defense functionality to it, because we live in a time and age where it makes more sense that you have limited time to train, make more of that time, make it more practical, functional, and valuable to you by making sure that what you're training is actually helping you survive the world around you. So, with Kyosunim John and Samuel Yoshida, we say, Kamsahamnida and Aloha.